Right then. So thanks everybody for coming, and it's really great to be here, representing our project. And yeah, I hope you like our presentation.
Right, so let's start off with a bit of background and context as to like how we started. So we started back in around March when like the coronavirus cases started skyrocketing around the world. And here you can see on the left, that's just like a worldometer's case numbers. And on the right, you see this map of lockdown measures being taken all across the world. So basically the problem that we were trying to look at was based on like all these cases that were exploding, we saw like over a third of the world, almost 3 billion people who were unable to leave their homes. And so the problem that we saw, essentially, Pedro, could you?
Yeah, sure. So,
sorry.
So the problem,
next slide.
Exactly that. So as Shayan was saying, lots of people were like locked down, and basically this was like the main pain point. And Shayan, you want to?
Oh yeah, sorry. So yeah, basically because everybody was locked down, those susceptible to the virus, who are mostly elderly, immunocompromised, and who had special needs, and the people who didn't have any social support at home were sort of left helpless, and common day-to-day activities like getting groceries became almost life-threatening for you and your loved ones by leaving your house. So
exactly. So that brings us basically to the next part. So how did people try to solve this? So there were a lot of initiatives and small projects that were coming up. So things like group chats and spreadsheets, where people would just like post resources that they were willing to offer, or like post their own contact information so that people would call if they needed. Also physical printings, like helping neighbors and things like that. And basically things that were very useful, very helpful for everyone, but that really weren't very efficient at some point, especially when talking with these projects. We found out that they were having some problems regarding, for instance, the way they were managing data, which was like in endless Google spreadsheets, and they were having a hard time doing that. Also, they couldn't really measure the impact they were having, like the requests that were fulfilled, if everything went all right with that. And so we kind of started thinking, and we set out to build something more efficient. And that's basically where it all started, which was in a different organization called Helpful Engineering, which was like this big organization that basically just was a great environment for us to get to know each other and starting to think a bit. In this, as Shayan mentioned in the previous slides, this all happened like very fast in March, actually in the weekend that Adam, like the weekend before Adam started Keep Small Strong, so around 15th of March. And Shine can speak a little bit more about how we worked with others to make this possible as well.
So we are a team all around the world. We're hailing from like LA to Morocco to Portugal to Bangladesh to the UK. And so we wanted to sort of take this and embrace our multinationality and all of our different skill sets, and also partner with different organizations around the world who we thought would be important for this, just like use our connections and use our expertise in that. And so at our core, we believe in unity and collaboration and not competition. So we reached out to and collaborated with the efforts of other projects with similar goals. So here we have ISEC Portugal and Bangladesh. So basically ISEC is like the largest volunteer organization in Eurasia. And we worked with them to basically understand what their organizational and volunteering needs were, and to build a platform for them that would be appropriate so that they could make their volunteers easier to manage, and also managing requests from people who needed help. And the other groups like Mutual Aid World, Mutual Aid Hub, they were essentially also reaching out to different volunteer organizations around the world. And we decided to work with them to create this like centralized, unified platform of help that other organizations, that people could reach out to organizations from, as well as our organizations can find other people through.
Yeah, so how did you make this work basically? So as Shayan said, we set out to build something that was centralized and that was easy to use, and hopefully very useful for people to get help, and also for people who wanted to help to basically to start helping. So we set out to from this premise, which was something that people that needed help, and we would link people who were willing to help. So our first iteration on this was actually as a peer-to-peer application, where people would just like individually help out people, and that works, and that is a very nice thing to do, and also very useful in the sense that I as an individual can go out and help. But we felt that we also needed to partner up with already established companies and volunteering projects, and really start to think about Reach4Help not only as this almost a marketplace for people who needed help and people willing to help, but also as a set of services that are already established organizations could use for free to manage, to measure their impact, and really tackle those problems that I have brought up in one of the previous slides, where everything was very bootstrappy, and we try to make something that is easy to use also for these bootstrappy organizations to start having a more organized way of work. So basically how we developed through time. So we're basically there with my face and Shayan's, and also basically this symbolizes a little bit like we were very few people in the beginning, as most projects, but basically because we believed in the same thing and we believed in the project, we managed to grow, and we are at the moment more than 300 people in our Slack channel, and which is great, and it's really a great feeling. So yeah, so Shayan, maybe you want to.
Right. So in terms of like the management resources and like how we sort of brought together all these people from around the world, and we brought together many people from many different skill sets, like project managers, designers, and marketers, to actually build this idea and actually get it out into the world. And so all of these people, you know, they're different people, different countries, time zones, and expertise. So we had to really cultivate all of this. And despite our differences and being complete strangers before the project, we had to step up and become part of something bigger, which was this global movement of unity. And so with our eagerness to start, we quickly realized that in order to build something of this caliber, we needed to create a structure of like leadership and teams, because we had so many people who were eager to work. And so we could essentially just effectively delegate work to them and make a viable MVP in the shortest time possible. And so since our solution was geared towards helping organizations like Isaac, as we mentioned earlier, we worked like very closely with them for feedback from like actual volunteers and organizations who would be using our app. And so we basically spent countless hours of our free time for the next 2 or 3 months away from our jobs to develop this MVP.
Exactly. So as Shayan mentioned, our MVP is this app, which we basically built with contributions from people from all different backgrounds, as Shayan mentioned. So from engineers to managers to marketing people. So basically like a big group of people that just wanted to help with the skill set that they had, and for sure have learned a lot about all of the different things that are needed to make a project like this. So I'd also like say, since this is Algolia is also an engineering company and a company that focuses a lot in fixing and solving some of the project problems that engineers have, software engineers have. So basically, the technologies we use to build our app is React, with is basically our front end. Our front end is basically all built in React. We also use Firebase as our backend because it's like this amazing platform where we can build a basically can be our base to create a service like this, but it has some limitations regarding search and regarding what we needed to do with our map and with the way we wanted to present data to the users. And that's basically where Algolia comes in, which provides us behind the scenes, provides us with their amazing API with a very easy way to search and to do geo searching, and really just in a very easy way, in a very efficient way, which is also something that we were lacking with some of the limitations with Firebase. Algolia provides us with all this, and a big shout out to Algolia, and thank you very much. But yeah, and so just so will see a little video about our app works. So yeah.
So this basically like demonstrates the flow of our app and how, ooh, it's a bit choppy. But basically you can choose to either get help or ask for help, and you can create a help request and ask for what you need. And then you put it on the map, and basically somebody can respond to that and they can help you by seeing your request on the map. And then you can select that person to help. So we have like a system that's sort of similar to Uber, where you basically choose someone to help you based on their rating, based on how other people have rated them. And then basically, yeah, they rate each other. And so that whole process of the request getting filled out between the person in need and the volunteer, that's all automated and done within the app. So it removes a lot of the logistical processes that a lot of these organizations, they have to do themselves. So they don't have to like follow up specifically to a specific person anymore and like keep check of like what their volunteers are doing at every current time. So basically this was just to streamline that whole volunteer flow between people in need and the volunteers who are helping them.
Yeah, exactly. So we also have we also have a second project which was built parallelly, which is this map, which really brought us together with lots of those organizations that Shayan mentioned before, especially we have lots of data points here, which were many of them provided by all of these amazing organizations. Shayan, do you want to add a little bit more on this?
Sure, yeah. So the basically purpose of why we created this app was sort of in line with why we wanted to build the app in the first place. And so we wanted to help people find and join mutual aid networks where they lived, and basically sort of offer some inspiration for them to start their own organizations, or to find and reach out to organizations on behalf of themselves if they need help, or on behalf of their loved ones. Like if people are living away from their families who are elderly and who need help, then they can reach out to organizations they can find on this map and then ask for help through that way before our app was built. And so this map like represents a growing list of mutual aid organizations all around the world, and we're still continuing to add it via the organizations that we're working with. And you can also go ahead and add any information that you'd like if you are part of an organization.
Yeah.
And so next up is basically how we're planning on envisioning the future. So the impact that we've already made in a lot of organizations and in a lot of communities, as well as like what we want to continue in the future. So as we mentioned, we worked with Isaac and Magic Community, and as Pedro had mentioned before, we have all these organizations that we've worked with for the map. And a month from our launch, we've basically been streamlining and automating these help requests for these organizations, and for over 100 users around the world. And we want to continue doing this, and continue expanding our partnership with more volunteer organizations and help them simplify their logistical processes in managing and recruiting volunteers and helping the people that are in their communities. And we also want to basically expand from more than just like the pandemic based on like what we started from, because something like this, creating like a unified network of help, that is going to be very useful, not only in sort of your day-to-day activities in terms of like, hey, I need help with like groceries, I can't go to the grocery store right now, or if somebody has a disability and they're unable to do a specific thing, you can ask for somebody to do that for you. We also want to enable stuff like that to happen, as well as as we're building up accessibility for different regions. So currently we have our app like being translated in Spanish. It's already been done, translated to Spanish, French, and Portuguese for Isaac in Portugal. And we're also currently in the process of translating it into Bangla for Isaac in Bangladesh. So we want to build up this accessibility for different regions and help in areas where in terms of like, if specific crises happen, we want to be able to be there and provide these helpful networks for the people who are affected by these crises, like natural disasters and etc. And so basically also just one quick thing, like recently we've reached out to UNB, which is the United Nations Volunteers Project, and they've been very receptive about what we've been doing, and they're very interested in working with us and also bringing these so what they're currently doing is basically a lot of online volunteering, like remote volunteering from volunteers all across the world. So we want to also create a platform. Right now, our platform is very much geared towards physical delivery services, but we also want to create a platform that enables online volunteering services by people just signing up to help, and also people signing up for like any kind of help that they need. Like if they need help with like writing like a proposal, or if they need help with like translating specific documents if they're foreign and they're in a foreign country, then that's something we will enable by working with United Nations volunteers.
Yeah, and I will also add regarding the way we also help volunteering in general. We also partnered up with the Programming Foundation recently because we found out that our project, like as a software project, also brought a lot of value to newly formed engineers that were either looking for a job or really wanted to own a little bit more their experience and the way their expertise really in making software as a job. So we are also quite proud to have some of our volunteers, because of or at least partly because of their experience working in Reach4Help, because like we have volunteers from also top companies that are very experienced, that can really provide a really good mentorship for new engineers, and the Programming Foundation will really help us, and it already is helping us to make our project not only the product that we have already presented you, but also as a platform for learning, and I hope that this is also grows as an important part of our project. Okay, so we also Reach4Help, which basically lots of companies have helped us with very different things, either free services or support, engineering support, or really just sometimes just advice or whatever. Big shout out to Hermit QA, which actually gave us like volunteering hours from their employees, which helped immensely building our product and shipping our MVP.
Mm-hmm. And just like to put it into perspective, like the project is called Reach4Help, and we're sort of enabling people to reach for help to specific people who can help them, but also in our own mission, we've had to reach for help towards other organizations that who have way more experience, who have like a lot of the expertises that we need to like bring this project to life. And a lot of them were very receptive and very supportive of our mission, and like all those organizations that we had listed before. And so that sort of solidarity, as Julie had mentioned earlier, like all these organizations came together to build this sort of platform and like build these technologies to help people around the world in this time of crisis. Like it really the sort of like makes you really proud of humanity that like we're able to come together, and despite our differences, despite all of the polarization that our world is going through right now, we're able to support people and we're able to support organizations who are working to help people. So that's a really inspirational story, I think.
Yeah, and feel free to try out our app, sign up to help, or if you are in need of some help, feel free to use our app to try to get it. And really help us grow by being a user, by being also at the same time a tester, and try to keep contact with us so that we can improve this as fast as possible and in the best way possible. And also, if you want to contribute with your own skill set, either coding, designing, marketing, translating, or if you feel like you have a skill set that might be helpful for our project, feel free to reach out and yeah. Shine, you want to add anything here or?
Not particularly. I mean, basically, yeah, we have, so our tech stack, I know a lot of like the people in the audience are very technically oriented. So as we mentioned before, like our tech stack is React, Firebase, and Algolia as well. And everything is open source. It's on GitHub. So we'll have a link to it down below. And basically, yeah, if you want to participate and contribute to the project, then by all means, we have 316 volunteers on our Slack, and feel free to join us. We'd love to have you.
Yeah. So reach out to us as like from every kind of social media almost. Feel free to reach out to us. If you're a dev, please check out our own GitHub, which there are lots of interesting stuff going on there. And thank you. Thank you for being here with us. And thank you, Algolia, for providing us with this opportunity.
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming.
Thanks so much, Pedro and Shayan. Thanks a lot. It was great. We have a few questions from the audience, if you don't mind staying with us a little bit.
Go ahead.
Lina is asking, what makes your platform unique?
So our platform, basically, most projects that are helping through volunteerism that we had noticed were basically tend to be very localized for a single group of people helping another group. And so we aim to basically unite a lot of these groups and combine their efforts across these multiple organizations and create this sort of unified network of help. And we hadn't really seen a lot of work going to sort of taking different organizations like Isaac, taking like Matcha Commune, taking like United Nations volunteers, bringing them all together and sort of creating this volunteer base that can help anybody and anywhere around the world. And basically it's just like a long-term goal to create these tools for these organizations and streamline their work into finding people in need, coordinating volunteers to help, prioritizing the most urgent help requests, as well as like sort of making sure that all the people in need who are asking for help, they're able to be helped. Because there's a lot of people who want to help, like just by seeing like the outpour of help, people wanting to help during this pandemic, there's definitely a lot of people who want to help. And we feel that we want to bridge that gap between the people who are asking for it and people who can.
Okay, cool. We then have another question. What about the challenges found when being all in different parts of the world, different time zones, different cultures, and the fact that you didn't know each other from before the project?
I can start this one, and Chine, please add anything that I might miss. This is actually, it's interesting because it wasn't really like a planned thing that we set up like this amazing infrastructure. Fortunately, our own technology that we have like accessible to us at the moment, like Zoom and Slack and lots of different technologies enable this. And regarding time zones, it's interesting because we meet up regularly, and it's also interesting because we have people in really inspiring. We have people that are really out of like business hours when we meet up, and still they maintain their participation and they maintain their own will to work on this, even though they might be tired or have already long hours of work before that. But Shayan, please add on that maybe.
So basically, the one thing that I've really learned about this that I had really thought, like sort of like thinking about like working with people in different time zones, it's very daunting because like it seems like a really big issue sort of trying to align yourselves with them. But I've learned that more than anything, it's more of like an asset because first of all, you meet all these new people who you don't really get to meet and like being like localized to where you are, and you sort of create this like environment of collaboration between like these different backgrounds and different people. And also interestingly enough, like it enables for a lot more parallel work where you have people who can like take shifts on certain tasks, especially in terms of management. So this not only like eases the load of like a single person or a single group in a time zone, but also enables like different people to work on different things at the same time regardless of where they are, and basically allowing for a lot more parallel work being done across. So it's quite an interesting experience just working and on like sort of understanding the parallels between like how or the sort of like thing that you learn about like you have a negative disposition towards it at the beginning, but then you learn like how beautiful and how actually really useful it is.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. We are running out of time, so if you have other questions for Pedro and Shayan, please reach out to them directly on their social media. Thanks all the speakers for coming. We were super happy to have you.